All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Thursday, March 11th. So, almost through the week, and we had a really nice day today in terms of price action. Theme of the day: growth rages back, and S&P is within a whisper of taking out new highs. So, just like that, right? I mean, just from a couple days ago, where we were pushing to below the 50-day moving average, and now very close to breaking out to new highs. So before we get into the price action and the chart studies, risk disclaimer in front of you: everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. And now we can kind of look at this and say, from where we were, just bringing this daily chart up of S&P futures, the last time that we broke the 50-day moving average, it was for one day, right? And that was at the end of January, and we went lower that day, and it was a very easy and smooth kind of transition after a very weak last week of January. And this was a little bit trickier. A lot of rotations under the hood. We spent, same thing, just a deeper move below the 50-day moving average. You had a snapback move, a little bit of hesitation there on that was Monday, and then we've traveled all the way through the value area. So, daily chart, you've got a really easy level to watch, right? And we've kind of been going step by step through this and through the week. Earlier in the week we got above that downtrend line, and that's why we really pay attention to technicals, right? Even if you didn't, if you waited for a little bit of confirmation on this day, once we got above that downtrend line, and I'll go here to the 1 hour chart. Right. Once we got above that downtrend line, we've been moving up and to the right. We've actually been moving to the up and to the right, basically, all week. But that confirmation really kind of came into play. Especially here, we stalled. Here we stalled a little bit too, and then we got going, and it's been pretty nice. So, very easy level to watch now. For for extended move above. Interesting that we closed right in just at the top of value. That's 39.34.25. So again, MarketWebs value area is doing a wonderful job at showing us where there's resistance, and that resistance came into play again. And we'll see how we can kind of get through that. Obviously the growth names were super constructive today. Let's talk a little bit about the Qs chart. Really easy level to watch here as well. We're closing. Obviously the S&P is stronger than the Qs right now, and this is still not above the 50-day moving average. So it will be very interesting to see how this works. But 318.38. We've talked about before that that the Qs were due for a bounce. Will this be a trend change? Positive trend change, and that would be a move inside value. That would also be a move back above the 50-day moving average. We're not there yet. Believe it or not, after a huge day. So, what you can kind of do with these types of moves is, take advantage of the day's moves. The Qs were up 2.3%, but they rallied. A lot of that move coming in the overnight market again, right? We talk about that a lot, that the majority of the moves happen in the overnight market. Now, we did see a number of stocks have nice trending days today, but again, you're just in my opinion, you are if you're just looking to kind of come in and day trade, there's just a whole lot. If you think of the market as a pie, right? There's just a whole lot less of the pie. If you're not keeping positions on through the overnight session, because again, 2.3%, but only 2.3% for the Qs today, but only 0.7% from where they rallied. Right, small caps did a little bit better than that. We'll talk about them in a second, but they were up 2.2% for the day, but they actually rallied a little bit more through the session. And same thing with the S&P. Overall move plus 1%, but only a move through the session of about 30 basis points. So not trying to be negative about today's price action at all. Just giving you the numbers, the raw numbers, and where the majority of the performance is extracted from. So Qs will be interesting. S&P will be interesting, and we've got levels to watch here to see for that confirmation purposes. So that's the Qs, and again, I think going through single names and seeing which names acted stronger, and which names got above, inside value, and some names actually, out to new highs in tech land. So we mentioned S&P is a whisper with going into new highs, but if you equally weight the S&P, which I've talked about this the last couple days, right? If you take the same components in the S&P and you equally weight them, right? So the same 500 names, but instead of market cap weighted as the S&P 500 is, right? Meaning market cap weighting, meaning the largest companies get the biggest weight. If you equally weight all the companies, you will find that we're already out to new highs. Right, so it just shows you when you do it like this, you could see that the overall market breadth has been very strong. Of course, odd to say it, but it is what it is. Tech and growth have been just keeping the index at bay a bit, and not breaking out. But there's your breakout. Again, that's the RSP ETF. Same components as the S&P 500, but just weighted differently. And then if you look at the Dow, the Dow actually looks pretty, even though Dow is price weighted, which is a whole nother thing, which I'm not going to explain. But only 30 companies, and every company in the Dow gets one share, right? So that means I guess I am going into it, but the names with the highest price get the biggest share. So weird way to kind of weight an index, but it is what it is. And the Dow is out to new highs. Then I mentioned the small caps. I thought the small caps were going to go here. They had to kind of give a false breakdown maybe, and now they're out to new highs. Right. So it's very tough to predict how this when, where it's going, how it's going to work. That's why we do kind of put things like downtrend lines in here, right? Because we could not get over it, and then we kind of hopped over it yesterday, and we didn't close, above value yesterday either, and we got it today. All right, so very, very strong, the small caps. All right, so that's your summary for no resistance for the small caps. Let's talk a little bit about sectors. We'll do a quick sector review. But again, if you look at these two things down here, right? I've got these two ETFs, value versus growth. This was not a value day today. The value ETF was flat for the day. This was a big growth day today. So probably it was due. But again, difficult to predict what day that was going to come. But you had a huge move back for growth, up over 2.2% for the day. And if you break this out in stocks, you had things like, the pot stocks were up 7%. Solar stocks had a big recovery today, up 9%. The clean energy ETF was very strong. Here's what solar looks like. It's crazy because, up 9%, and we've had bigger candles than that. It's just amazing. And I always talk about too, some people are against trading the ETF because I think that they can find the single stocks better. But you're reducing your single stock risk, to like a downgrade. A single stock risk could be a downgrade, or somebody warns on earnings. If you just trade the ETF, there's plenty of movement. 9% today in just the ETF. Now, I did trade some CSIQ today, and I'm looking for that to push a little bit higher. I could have made a mistake because I did not take a target in this today. Most of everything else, I took a target today. I just forgot to. And I was up at 47. I guess it closed at 46. I must have just missed the target in this. So a little bit of shame on me for that. PBW, right, which is a clean energy ETF, also had a nice day. Still, these things are way below the 50-day moving average. So we don't know right now if this is just, you still kind of have to rule these things as bounces until they can kind of retake that 50-day moving average, in my opinion. The blockchain ETF, so a lot of the crypto names. SI had a nice day today. I was watching this one. This one is now firmly in value above all the moving averages. Mara was close to break. Mara did break. Oh, sorry. Let me just wait for for Thinkorswim to adjust. But nice chart pattern. out and above this area of consolidation. Riot Blockchain is another name. We'll move on because I want to cover a lot of names here. Internet ETF was up 3.7%, and then you still had a mix of like materials, like the steel names were still hot. So that's I think that's more value. But I mean, they had a really nice a really nice day. They were up 3.5%. Also, if you look at the metals and mining ETF was up 2.2%. So there was some strength in some other areas, even though overall value didn't really perform. But you had travel names doing well as well. Finally, the Chinese internet names woke up. They were up 6.8%. Biotech woke up. The semis also, I've got them on here, were up 4.2%. So some of these things I've been worried about the semiconductors. They did close again, not quite over the 50-day moving average, but did get a lot closer to that. So I'll talk about some of the things that I traded, right? And let me go over the first, and the ARK ETFs all finished up over 5%, a couple of them over 6%. So nice to see that come back as well. And the only thing that really underperformed today was OIH, Energy Services. So all in all, strong breath once again. Okay, so I actually bought some Marvell. This is a name that we've seen a lot of call buying in. I felt comfortable with purchasing this pre-market. I just thought that the semiconductors were due for a move. So I bought this in here. I bought this in here pre-market. Again, when I looked at this and I said, hey, I think the semis can have a day today, and I was like, this MRVL is not even over where it was yesterday. So I caught a really nice trade in that one. I also traded we saw some JMIA calls that went up in the beginning of the day. I got some of these trades I just got out of, because there were so many nice trading opportunities today. But I got in this JIM, right around 9:35 today. Again, it's a name that has kind of really been punished. So, when you see momentum in the market, I have no problem playing this, and or something like that. So, PENN got out of that trade today. Has been in that for a long one. Alcoa had put on a small trade just, I think, yesterday. I also got out of my XLI calls. I went into some JP Morgan, but maybe a little bit early. I took a target in CSX. There's my exit in Alcoa. Expedia hit a target in. Home Depot got out of that trade today for some profits. TripAdvisor is a new trade for me today. Again, I like the travel companies. If we go to the 1 hour chart, let's see if this thing closed above value. It just barely closed above value, but that's fine. Some other names too. Apps, had some hesitation a couple times. Almost looks like, I don't want to call it yet, but almost looks like a V recovery that's in the works. But this one was tough. Right? I mean, huge moves down and recovering quite nicely now. I bought some Twitter today too. That trade worked out. That's a name that I was watching yesterday. I almost bought it yesterday, and thank goodness I didn't, because we had this horrible day. Since I'm on the T's, TTD had a really nice day today, up another 4.7%. But it's amazing, right? You look at the power that some of these things had, and it's still below the 20 and 50-day moving average. So, some of these things, and something like this, I think you sell a little bit, or you take your profits if you've been adding into the weakness. Because again, this doesn't look all that healthy, right? That we're just kind of recovering into this. We'll have to get above 808, right? That'll be above all the short-term moving averages and back in value. Tesla, which was up 4.7%, but did not take out yesterday's highs. Again, big day earlier this week in Tesla. Tried to go higher yesterday and failed. So we're basically back to that point. 720 is a level to watch there. That's where this stalled right at the bottom of value. So, and this looks like the 720 level has some resistance to it. But things are being, are able to recover from some of them. So let's Trip. SE had a nice day today too. Right, SE is now back inside value, back above the 50-day moving average, not above the 20-day moving average yet, but another name up 9%, and and again, just looking at the size of these candles, up 9%, and still, some of these other candles were just huge. I thought Fuel Cell and Plug. Yeah, I actually like the Fuel Cell chart a little bit better than Plug, even though we saw some call buying at the end of the day. Because that is now inside value. You could use a stop of right around 1740. Maybe give yourself a little bit more room. Here's Plug, right? So that's why I like Fuel Cell a little bit better, because Fuel Cell got into the March value area. Plug did not, but again, up 12%. So a lot of these things, right, that I'm going through, we'll kind of watch to see if 5031 could be overcome, but they just gave you a nice amount of trading opportunities, for the day, right? So certainly, that's more trades than I usually do in a day, but we've talked about this concept too before, that forcing, not, I don't want to say forcing trades, but knowing when and where the market is more conducive, right? So this week we've seen stronger breadth. We've had nice price momentum, right? And the wind is at your back here. Rather than last week, the wind was in your face, right? And I saw a lot of people trying to bottom pick things, and the name of the game for me is always confirmation, right? And having a level to trade against, because I think in reality, there's a lot of people that are in some pretty deep holes from adding too early. Like, I saw a bunch of people on Twitter, saying on the very first dip buying, right? And you really put yourself in a hole, because especially if you're trading options, right? Because you need a bigger and bigger move, to get you out of an options hole. So overall, very constructive price action. I feel like I want to go over a couple other names. Obviously the CALX, which I've been talking about, has been a leader in software. This thing's out to new highs again. FTNT, also beautiful move higher here, up 3.9%. This is now the leader in cyber, right? It was CrowdStrike for a while. CrowdStrike is still kind of flirting with that, regaining the bottom of value. But again, I'm always looking for relative strength, right? I'm always looking for the names that are showing the strongest. I don't want the weakest. Always want the strongest. So that was pretty good. DKNG, crazy. This one's back. So again, just going through the, as I said with the Qs, that's not over the 50-day moving average, right? You can still find names that are showing that relative strength. PENN, which I got out of today, new highs up to 131. So very quickly, that one recovered and back out to new highs. Another one that I'm watching is Net. So Cloudflare, again, needs to get over 78.22 for confirmation, but pretty good weekly bar developing. Right, you got a nice bullish engulfing bar. Netflix was a big story today. We saw a lot of call buying. I'm trying to remember what day we saw the call buying. There was a really big order. For some reason, I think it was on Friday that we saw Netflix call buying, and today there was a story out that they're going to be doing something with their passwords. Right, so big move in Netflix. All right, guys, we'll leave the video here for the day, but in summary, bottom line, great trading opportunities. It's nice to see growth pick up, and it is what it is. Even though there was a lot of profit taking and a lot of rotating out of growth, overall, this is what's called a rolling bull market, right? When it's good to see value areas of the market rally a little bit. And overall, when you look at under the hood of the S&P, and that's why I did that example with the equally weighted S&P, you got a lot of strength going on. But you just have to be a little bit, I think, right, I'm not telling you what to do, of course, but, to be open to looking at some other things that are moving rather than just, pegging yourself into one area of the market. I think you're really limiting yourself, especially when we've got some really nice performance going on in, the industrials, the home builders, metals and mining, materials, financials. So a lot of things going on. I thought it was kind of funny that they were mentioning the home builders today. We mentioned in our video, and I'll try to send that out. You know, we do a weekly watch list, and let's see. I should have this up from earlier. Maybe I don't. I'll put this out on Twitter later. But you know, the home builders have been strong all week long. Today they get mentioned on CNBC, right? So we talked about the home builders on Friday, you know, with this big candle. So today they mentioned them. Right? And this is something that we went over, like I said, in our Sunday video, that the home builders were looking good. And I put on XHB in our weekly watch list trade, which is out to new highs, made new highs today. And then I also had Lennar in, right? We bought those on Monday morning. And so, yeah, it's funny that today they're talking about them. So a little bit late. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.